Hey everyone, and welcome back to Retro Legends. Today, we're diving into one of the most legendary games ever made, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Released in 1997 for the PlayStation, Symphony of the Night changed the Castlevania series forever. It transformed from a straight-up action platformer into a sprawling metroidvania adventure that would inspire countless games to come. So, what made Symphony of the Night so extraordinary? Today we're going to uncover its history, its development, and even some behind-the-scenes secrets that might surprise you. Let's get started. The making of Symphony of the Night is one of the most interesting parts of this game's history. The game was made by Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo during a very important time for video games. The change from 2D to 3D. While most game companies were trying to use this new 3D technology, think of big hits like Super Mario 64 or Tomb Raider, Konami went a different way. They stuck with 2D, but they made it look better than ever before. Behind this choice was Koji Igarashi, also known as IGA, a young and talented developer who wasn't even the project's director at first. Igarashi joined Konami as a programmer and writer, making significant contributions to Tokimeki Memorial, but he later became involved in the Castlevania series. In Symphony of the Night, he initially served as assistant screenwriter, but soon, due to internal changes and the departure of some of the original team, he was entrusted with creative direction. It was thanks to his vision that the project took the shape we know today. Igarashi strongly believed that the Castlevania series needed a major makeover. He proposed a radical change. He wanted to move away from the classic linear level design and adopt a non-linear exploration-based structure, inspired by games like Metroid and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This is how the concept of Metroidvania was born, which has now become a full-fledged video game genre. However, at the beginning of development, the game was conceived as a more traditional sequel to Rondo of Blood. The original direction envisioned an arcade-style action-adventure, focused on the character of Richter Belmont. It was Igarashi, along with art director Ayami Kojima and producer Toru Hagihara, who pushed to introduce Alucard as the protagonist, completely changing the approach to gameplay. No more linear levels, but an interconnected castle, full of secret passages, hidden areas, and optional bosses. This vision led to a much deeper and more personal experience, where the player was free to explore, retrace their steps, and discover new areas by getting special abilities. This approach required meticulous care in designing the maps, to ensure that exploration felt consistent and rewarding. From a technical standpoint, Symphony of the Night made sophisticated use of two dimensions in a time when 2D games were considered old-fashioned. The graphics engine used multiple parallax effects, rotations, scaling, and even simulated three-dimensional elements to give depth to the environments. Dracula's castle wasn't just big and complex. It was alive, dynamic, full of gothic details and fluid animations that just oozed atmosphere. The work of artist Ayami Kojima gave the game a new visual identity, blending classic horror elements with a dark romantic aesthetic, featuring elegant characters, unsettling creatures, and lavish environments. Another bold choice was the inclusion of RPG elements, like equipping weapons and armor, acquiring magical abilities, and a character leveling system. These mechanics added unprecedented depth to the series, making every bit of progress feel significant and customizable. Despite all of this, Konami didn't initially have much faith in the project. The company believed that 2D was outdated, and that a game like Symphony of the Night wouldn't appeal to the PlayStation market, which was dominated by 3D titles. The budget was limited, the promotion minimal, but it was precisely this freedom from commercial pressure that allowed Igarashi and his team to work with passion and creativity. The result? A masterpiece that would exceed all expectations. Although it wasn't a huge commercial success at launch, Symphony of the Night won over critics and built a devoted fan base, becoming one of the most beloved games of all time, and the inspiration for a generation of game designers. Among the things that make Symphony of the Night unforgettable, the music is really special. Written by Michiru Yamane, the soundtrack is a true masterpiece. It brings every moment of the game to life. Yamane, already known for her work on other Konami games, created a soundtrack that's both diverse and sophisticated. It can be gothic and intense one minute, then soft and atmospheric the next. Each area of the castle has its own musical identity, making you feel different things, from the uneasiness of exploring to the thrill of a fight, to the sadness of hidden, dark places. Tracks like Dracula's Castle, Wood Carving Partita, and the nostalgic Lost Painting have become classics, while the ending song, I Am the Wind, with its almost pop sound, surprised some fans but is still loved by many. The music in Symphony of the Night doesn't just play in the background, it shapes the action, making it more exciting and meaningful. It becomes a part of the castle itself. Even today, years later, it's still one of the most loved and celebrated soundtracks in gaming history. One of the most memorable twists in the game is definitely the reveal that Richter Belmont, first shown as a hero and vampire hunter, is actually being controlled by dark magic. This plot twist was a real shocker for the series. For the first time, a hero from the Belmont family was being tricked and questioned. The effect was huge, not just because of how surprised players were back then, but also because it added depth and mystery to the story, going way beyond the classic good versus evil story. Alucard didn't just have to defeat Dracula, but also had to free a friend who was being controlled, putting a tough emotional problem right in the middle of the fight. It was a more grown-up, more complex story that showed how Symphony of the Night wanted to tell a story that was about more than just good guys and bad guys. And then, there's the element that completely blew away everyone who finished the game too quickly: the entire inverted castle. It's a mirrored and flipped version of the original map, with new challenges and even tougher enemies. This stroke of genius effectively doubled the game's length and depth without forcing anything. Everything had to be discovered by the player through patience and a thirst for adventure. In a time when most games offered short and guided experiences, Symphony of the Night rewarded exploration, curiosity, and cleverness, becoming a true icon in gaming. And last but not least, the leveling and customization system in Symphony of the Night was a huge change for the series. Up to this point, Castlevania was always a pure action game, all about reflexes and skill. But with Alucard, things changed. By defeating enemies, Alucard earns experience, levels up, improves his stats, and can equip weapons, armor, accessories, and magic. This RPG element added a whole new layer of depth, allowing players to build their own Alucard, powering him up to match their playstyle. Some players preferred to focus on brute force, others on magic, and others on rare and unusual items. Every playthrough felt different, and each new discovery gave a tangible and rewarding sense of progression. It was an approach that would inspire dozens of games that followed, and it's still considered a key element of the metroidvania genre today. When Castlevania Symphony of the Night hit the shelves in 1997, it did so quietly. In a market dominated by 3D games like Final Fantasy VII, Tomb Raider, and Gran Turismo, a 2D game seemed almost out of place. It was like going back in time when everyone was excited about the future. Konami, perhaps unsure about the game's potential, didn't promote it heavily, and early sales weren't great. But what looked like a misstep at first slowly became a bold artistic statement. It would leave a lasting mark on video game history. Over the years, Symphony of the Night was rediscovered, reevaluated, and adored. From a niche title, it became a beloved and studied cult classic. It earned its place among the greatest games of the PlayStation era. Its success wasn't instant, but it was deep and lasting. Fans spread the word, gaming magazines raved about it, and more game developers recognized its brilliance. Its most obvious legacy is the birth of the metroidvania genre. It's a term we use today to describe games that blend the exploration and ability-based progression of Metroid with the gothic look and RPG elements of Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Today, metroidvania represents a whole game design philosophy. Think big, complex worlds, interconnected maps, clever backtracking, characters who grow stronger, and constant discovery. Symphony of the Night brought all these elements to a new level. It offered an experience that went beyond simple arcade challenges. It invited players to get lost in a world they could explore, master, and understand. Ultimately, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night is a perfect example of how a visionary work can be ahead of its time. It might be misunderstood at first, but it becomes legendary in the long run. This is one of those rare cases where time was kind to a game. It allowed its greatness to shine through bit by bit until it became one of the most influential and beloved games ever. And that concludes our trip down memory lane. How many of these fun facts did you already know? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon for more journeys into the world of retro gaming. Thanks for watching Retro Legends, and see you in the next video. Stay retro, stay legends.